That's probably the biggest statement I made, because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. We wiped out the Iran nuclear threat like nobody can believe. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. That, Venezuela, taking down Soleimani, wiping out al-Baghdadi when he tried to reinstitute ISIS. We did a lot. I did a lot of big things, all perfectly executed. Everyone was perfectly executed. Somebody told me that, a military expert told me, "Sir, everything you've done has been perfectly executed." I said, "I know."
So he's not going to use force, but let me now walk you through the countries that US has actually attacked with the use of force in the last 1 year. First and foremost, Iran. The nuclear strikes that came in and the nuclear sites that he had actually hit out in June 2025. There were 3 Iranian nuclear facilities, Natanz, Isfahan and Fordo. The operation marked the largest direct American attack on Iranian nuclear infrastructure in history, in the hope that Iranians have since abandoned their nuclear bomb. The next big strike that took place under Trump's second term, and that is Yemen, where Operation Rough Rider came into being in January 2025 and targeted Houthi positions across Yemen, citing Red Sea shipping threats. 150 strike missions in 6 months, and that sharply escalated American involvement. Let's now take a look at what happened in Latin America. Venezuela. Maduro was captured in early 2026. American forces launched a major strike operation, culminating in the capture of Nicolas Maduro. It was the first American military intervention inside Venezuela in decades. That didn't end there. Let's now tell you what happened in Syria. There were retaliatory strikes that came in from America after attacks on American personnel, both in military as well as civilian. These were stationed in the region, and multiple precision strikes followed, reinforcing a long-running American military footprint in the region. Next up was Iraq, where ISIS targets were bombed. Airstrikes continued across ISIS remnants in northern Iraq. Military briefings, in fact, showed that dozens of confirmed targets were hit as part of counter-terror ops. That's what they're being called. Now let's look at Somalia. There was an air campaign that extended there and was expanded as US Africa Command intensified its strikes against militant groups throughout 2025. The number in terms of the strikes, it actually totals the highest since American involvement actually began. Let's now talk about Africa, where in Nigeria, counter-terror bombing took place in December last year. Extremist groups were targeted that supported regional allies. The strikes expanded America's counter-terror footprint across Western Africa. This is what Donald Trump has done, even as he continues to covet the nuclear peace prize. Now, the peace prize that he covets from Nobel. Now, more than 600 air and drone strikes globally in a single year, even as the president claims to have stopped 8 wars. Donald Trump has repeatedly called it peace through strength. But let's be clear, here is a president who has broken the rules-based order, abandoned allies, and threatened annexation against NATO powers. But for his MAGA base, he's a man who's ended 8 wars. And this report tells you what really is it that happened there.
In other words, Donald Trump, do solemnly swear.
On January 20th, 2025, Donald Trump returned to office, calling himself a peace president. And ever since, he's claimed credit for ending 8 global conflicts, from the Middle East to South Asia to Eastern Europe. A ceasefire between Iran and Hamas in October 2025, a 12-day Israel-Iran conflict halted after US pressure, tensions cooled, he says, between India and Pakistan, Armenia and Azerbaijan, Serbia and Kosovo, Egypt and Ethiopia, Thailand and Cambodia, and Rwanda and the DRC. 8 wars stopped on paper.
I settled 8 other wars. India, Pakistan. I settled other wars that were Vladimir Putin called me, Armenia, Azerbaijan. He said, I can't believe you settled that one. They were going on for 35 years. I settled it in one day. And President Putin called me. He said, you know, I can't believe I worked on that war for 10 years trying to settle it. I couldn't do it. I said, do me a favor, focus on settling your war. Don't worry about that one.
But here's the rub. Trump's peace claims are peaking only alongside rising US firepower. Pentagon records show over 600 US air and drone strikes in 2025 alone. Diplomacy in one hand, detonators in the other. And threading through it all, the Nobel Peace Prize. On social media, the president posted more than 6,500 times in his first year, averaging 18 posts a day. In bursts, he returned again and again to one theme. Why not me? In October 2025, he publicly fumed after the prize went to Venezuelan opposition leader Marcia Corina Machado. By January 2026, he posted a photo of Machado's physical Nobel medal gifted to him, calling it a wonderful gesture. 6 Nobel mentions in a single post, claims he deserved it 4 or 5 times. And a blunt message to Norway. Peace, he said, isn't free. One look on Trump's Truth Social account and you'll see his MAGA base and supporters seeing strength in his actions. Critics, on the other hand, only see more and more instability. 8 conflicts claimed as victories and a Nobel Prize that still hasn't arrived. The question now, is this peace by design or pressure building for the next explosion? With Arjun Samar Mahindran, Bureau Report, NDTV.
I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force.
The story goes far beyond the countries Donald Trump has attacked and the wars he has claimed to stop. Trump sent another signal from the dais at Davos, and Europe, well, it heard it loud and clear. First time since World War II, EU leaders are openly questioning whether the US is still on their side or now actually standing in their way. Donald Trump backed off on tariffs, yes, but his words on Greenland, calling it America's territory, landed like a lightning bolt across Europe. And leaders in the European continent are now thinking the statement that they have heard now is what they have to now decide whether the NATO still holds or not. 1949 is when NATO came into being. 1951 is when the Greenland Treaty and the agreement between the US and Greenland was signed with Denmark. Since then, what has changed now in 2026? Everybody sitting in Davos was asking that question. Every European leader on the continent is asking that question. But there are no answers because no one knows what Donald Trump is willing to do and how far is he willing to go. This is bigger than Trump. This is bigger than tariffs. It's the sound of an alliance that's quietly cracking with disbelief. Since 1951, it held true, and 1949. In fact, Article 5 of the treaty, which says attack on one is attack on all, was triggered by the US after 9/11. All NATO allies stepped in, supported America then, because war on terror was not just America's war, it was NATO's war. But now they're all thinking whether it was worth their while or not. To talk more on what exactly is Donald Trump thinking, and more importantly, can NATO survive what Donald Trump is doing right now to Greenland? To talk on that, Sarah Claire joins me on the broadcast. She's a professor, foreign policy commentator. Sarah, thanks much for speaking to me on Fault Lines. The world, especially European leaders, are still trying to wrap their heads around what Donald Trump actually said in Davos. He said that he wants to start negotiations on Greenland at the very earliest. What negotiations can you actually have with a territory, with a country that doesn't belong to you?
Well, thanks for having me. And yeah, I would say, Trump's goal is really to strengthen NATO. And especially when it comes to Greenland, he sees that as a weak point. And so sometimes that can be uncomfortable, I think, for our European allies. And there are growing pains with NATO as it tries to adapt to 21st century with Russia and China, who are now near peer competitors. And so some changes will have to be made. And as far as Greenland, the negotiations, I believe today he actually announced that he discussed a framework deal with the Secretary General of NATO. So he does want to go about this in a diplomatic way. And he may use tariffs and different things like that if he needs to. But my hope and my take is that, hopefully NATO will come around to seeing how critical this really is for everybody.
Sarah, what happens in the eventuality that NATO says that Greenland doesn't belong to America and they are backing Greenlanders, they're backing the Danes completely? What happens to NATO? What happens to the US and European alliance, the transatlantic alliance?
Well, I think Trump said today in his speech that, if they don't agree with him on this, then he's not going to use force, but he will remember it. And I think what to take away from that is that he's talking about the U.S. spends a lot of money and a lot of military power defending Europe, and we do that without asking for much in return. And so we may choose, to lessen some of those security commitments and put them in other critical areas that are more critical to U.S. national interests and the Western Hemisphere and all those things that he's talked about. If Europe can't kind of be more reciprocal in the relationship. But I don't think it means that he wants to go to war with anybody.
No, he doesn't want to go to war, but he covets a territory that doesn't belong to him. He also talked about the fact that he used tariffs, and that's how a lot of his allies actually came back on the negotiating table. But many believe that the long arc of using tariffs for geopolitical goals has now been exhausted in his 1 year in office. The question is, are we then looking at the end of NATO during Donald Trump's second term?
Well, I don't think so. I think that his use of tariffs, he's actually talked about it, and he's said, it's been something that he's leaned on to kind of push through a lot of these peace deals that he's worked on. And these economic tools are something that he is very adept at, maybe more adept at than some other presidents who chose other tactics when they were trying to get a deal done. And so he's actually been able to lean on that in a way of pursuing peace rather than going to a forceful choice. And in terms of NATO surviving his term, I think President Trump actually wants to strengthen NATO. And the way he goes about it can be kind of abrasive, certainly, but I do believe that's his ultimate goal.
I'm glad that you're using the term abrasive when it comes to Donald Trump. That is most certainly the case, and he's really rubbed his European allies the wrong way. But let me ask you this final question, which is that when you talk about Donald Trump's 1 year in office, he's completed a year. He says he's the peace president. He should get a Nobel Peace Prize. He isn't getting one. But the fact is, here is an American president who's actually ordered more strikes than his predecessor. 600 plus strikes that we in fact documented right here on fault lines. Your response to that?
Well, I would say I'm not surprised by that because his predecessor, President Biden, didn't do anything during his term at all in any foreign policy, domestic policy. He was basically absent. He
certainly did not get Maduro. You're right about that. And he most certainly didn't tell Greenland that this is a territory we were stupid enough to let go of. You're right about that. But Sarah, thanks much for joining me on this edition of Fault Lines. Always a pleasure to have you on the broadcast. Well, viewers, if you really take off your blinkers and see how things are unfolding right now, it's hard to believe that Donald Trump has only finished a quarter of his term. Yes, he's only done 1 out of his 4 years. And his big focus going forward is now on Greenland. Greenland matters to Donald Trump for many reasons. But beyond the resources and the significance of the Arctic route, Greenland is key to proving that America is still the most powerful nation on earth. And Donald Trump is the most powerful president that America has seen in a long time, since Ronald Reagan. And unlike Venezuela, Europe can take heart from the fact that Donald Trump is willing to start negotiations. Which way they will go? Well, the Danes don't know, the Greenlanders don't know, even maybe people inside the Oval Office don't know. But here is what many do know, how it may end up unfolding. Before invading Greenland, assuming the talks do not progress at all, Trump may exit NATO. And his new organization, the Board of Peace, which was ostensibly created for rebuilding Gaza, could become the new umbrella multilateral organization, the new UN. He himself has said it. He envisages it. The new NATO even. So will it be the end of the old NATO, and will it be the beginning of a new organization that Donald Trump will spearhead and then take over his Greenland ambitions? Well, we'll have to wait and watch out for as to how this unfolds. Well, viewers, on that note, slipping into a very short break, we come back on the other side and tell you more about why the Chinese recce drone that briefly entered Taiwan is causing huge uncertainty in the entire Taiwan Strait. Stay with us, we get you that details.
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told. Unfiltered, unafraid, unmissable. That's how I roll. Watch me, Priyanka Deo, on NDTV World. Namaste.
Rajasthan is history, culture, and much more. And I have been reporting on all things royal for more than 25 years.
The colors, the culture, and the complexities of the Northeast is different from the rest of the country. I have been bringing the Northeast closer to the capital for over 15 years. Madhya Pradesh is the heart of India, and I have been capturing its every beat for over 10 years, covering the corridors of power, what is said, what is left unsaid, and what it actually means for you and me. I have it all covered.
Kashmir is often called paradise on earth, a region that has been in a state of flux from conflict to India's crowning glory. I have been reporting and decoding Jammu and Kashmir for last 3 decades.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
From the lens of diplomacy and foreign affairs, what is the transformation that you're seeking, not just next year, but in time moving forward? And what does transforming tomorrow mean to you, Dr. Jaishankar?
You know, obviously transforming tomorrow can have a variety of meanings to each person in their own profession or their calling, or as as an Indian, I can think of what tomorrow would mean for India. So, if I were to put it all together, I mean, clearly all of us would like to see tomorrow an India which would be economically much stronger, which would technologically be much more so. And I feel, people don't always make that correlation as strongly as they do. Which would, build up its manufacturing. That too is a conviction I hold very deeply, that, we should be an industrial power. But from my particular perspective, tomorrow where we are actually able to navigate what I foresee as almost a generation of uncertainty. After all, look at it this way. Many of the assumptions that we held just a few years ago, perhaps the key assumptions are all a question mark. We had an assumption that globalization is here to stay. It is, in a manner of speaking, but it is under severe challenge in many ways. We had an assumption that the United States will always be a stabilizer of the international system. I think that's a very questionable assumption.
Now, a Chinese recce drone briefly entered the airspace above the Taiwan-controlled Pratas Islands at the northern edge of the South China Sea last week, prompting Taipei to condemn the move as both provocative and irresponsible. Democratically governed Taiwan, which China claims as its own territory, says it faces near daily military pressure from Beijing, including frequent drone activity, though direct violations of the Taiwanese airspace do remain rare. This report tells you why this is an attempt by the Chinese to wear Taiwanese down in the long-drawn process to get Taiwan. Take a look.
Chilling fest in the skies over Taiwan as China crosses a new red line, flying a high-altitude surveillance drone into Taiwan's airspace. Analysts say China's unprecedented action exposes a dangerous new vulnerability and sharpens the risk of escalation. Taipei says a WZ-7 soaring Dragon drone entered the sky above the Pratas Island for 4 tense minutes before radio warnings were sent. The drone flew far beyond the reach of Taiwan's air defenses at an altitude of nearly 18,000 meters, underlining what experts are describing as Beijing's growing technological edge. Pratas is a small but strategic atoll in the South China Sea, 420 kilometers from southern Taiwan. It lies directly along submarine routes that could prove crucial in any future conflict. Experts suggest China has found another soft spot. They can enter Taiwan's airspace with impunity. And if Taiwan shoots it down later, Beijing can, of course, shift the blame. China claims Taiwan as its territory and has never ruled out taking it by force. In recent years, China has intensified drills, patrols, and now drone operations, inching ever closer to Taiwan's outlying islands. The question is no longer whether China can test Taiwan's defenses, but how often it will do so and how low it may fly next.
2027 is expected to be the year when China will attempt an invasion on Taiwan, or at least that's been the stated objective for many years. Taiwan matters for Xi Jinping. From a unification objective to create near total domination of South China Sea. But here's a reason why these recce's that are happening right now are not an attack, because it's not so easy. Remember, we now live in times of asymmetric warfare. Ukraine doesn't even have a traditional naval fleet and managed to destroy Russia's fabled Black Sea fleet, all with the help of unmanned drones. That's the reason why China understands that any invasion of Taiwan is not so easy, because any invasion will be long detected and Chinese troops will be extremely vulnerable, will face huge losses even before they cross the entire strait. And then they will get on to fighting a land campaign on terrain that's totally unsuitable, making things even more difficult for the Chinese. So what you are seeing right now are efforts to wear the Taiwanese down, because the Chinese know in times of asymmetric warfare, their stated goal of 2027 invasion of Taiwan may not come through. And what could happen is many, many levels of losses that Xi Jinping cannot afford. Well, viewers, on that note, it's time out on this edition of Faultlines. Thanks so much for watching. We come back next week with yet another conflict, yet another story to tell you, to decode, and tell you the many layers and the many fault lines that exist around the world.
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told. Unfiltered, unafraid, unmissable. That's how I roll. Watch me, Priyanka Deo, on NDTV World. Namaste.
Rajasthan is history, culture, and much more. and I have been reporting on all things royal for more than 25 years.
The colors, the culture, and the complexities of the Northeast is different from the rest of the country. I have been bringing the Northeast closer to the capital for over 15 years.
Madhya Pradesh is the heart of India, and I have been capturing its every beat for over 10 years, covering the corridors of power, what is said, what is left unsaid, and what it actually means for you and me. I have it all covered.
Kashmir is often called paradise on earth, a region that has been in a state of flux from conflict to India's crowning glory. I have been reporting and decoding Jammu and Kashmir for last 3 decades.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome to Sreet Kaur Sahni and you're watching NDTV. We've got an action-packed show lined up just for you, but let's first take you through the headlines of the hour. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Stalin's blistering attack on Governor R.N. Ravi says that the governor is insulting own position and ridiculing the constitution. States no chief minister before him has faced any such challenges from the governor. Well, Congress versus Congress infighting erupts in Jharkhand as 5 Congress MLAs meet with Mallikarjun Kharge and seek cabinet reshuffle. Meanwhile, the BJP mocks the Congress infighting. Noida techie Raj Mehta's death probe intensifies. The SIT to submit the report today. As per authorities, a 60-page documents have been submitted. Meanwhile, the SIT is not satisfied with the answers and there seems to be the case where more action may be taken against the officials. Noida urban death traps exposed. 24-hour NDTV reality check. There seems to be broken and, in fact, planning and deadly consequences for the dream city, which seems to be turning now into a nightmare with no street lights and no safety. The question remains, who takes the responsibility? As cold weather grips the country, Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh turn into a winter wonderland as the season's first snowfall blankets the hills. US President Donald Trump's penguin in Greenland picture sparks mockery. The White House posts an AI photo of the US President and a penguin in Greenland gets trolled as there are no penguins in Greenland. Well, there's breaking news coming in at this hour from Chhattisgarh, where the Chhattisgarh Waqf Board chief has in fact made a big remark on the Congress. We're tracking some important information coming in as the chief Salim Raj has gone on to say, and I quote, that the Congress has only worked to turn Muslims into terrorists. Well, Salim has further gone on to add that it has worked to keep Muslims away from national unity. Well, remember that this is the Chhattisgarh Waqf Board chief's big attack on the Congress, where he's gone on to slam the party, saying that the Congress is responsible for any suspicious activity and even supports terrorism, while the BJP supports nationalism. Well, this is an important piece of information coming in from Chhattisgarh, where the Chhattisgarh Waqf Board chief's, in fact, big remark on the Congress coming in. He seems to have slammed the Congress party and hailed the BJP, saying that the Congress has only worked to turn Muslims into terrorists. Meanwhile, we have some reactions coming in on this. Listen in.
कांग्रेस ने सिर्फ मुसलमानों को वोट बैंक समझा और मुसलमानों को आतंकवादी बनाने का काम किया। देश की एकता से दूर रखा गया। जो भी गतिविधियां होती है तो लादेन भाईजान बोला जाता है कांग्रेस के नेता, और कई आतंकवादी है, मीरवाइज चाचा बोला जाता है। तो कांग्रेस की सोच है कि वो सिर्फ आतंकवाद की वो समर्थन करती है और भारतीय जनता पार्टी राष्ट्रीयता की बात करती है। जो देश से प्यार करता है वो राष्ट्रीय ध्वज से प्यार करेगा। जब कांग्रेस राष्ट्रीय ध्वज से प्यार ही नहीं है और आतंकवादी को साथ देना है तो विरोध करना उनका मकसद है।
अब सलीम रजा जी के इस तर्क पे मैं क्या कहूँ, मुझे अफसोस होता है कि स्वयं सलीम रजा जी बताएं कि इतने वर्षों तक वो कांग्रेस के शासनकाल में जन्म पाए, परवरिश पाए, बड़े हुए, वो कौन से आतंकवादी बने। आतंकवाद को अपनाने वाले विकृत मानसिकता के चुनिंदा लोग होते हैं और उसका किसी दल से, किसी सरकार से कोई ताल्लुक होना, ये कतई कोई कारण नहीं होता।
Well, on this, my colleague Anurag Tiwari joining us on the broadcast. And Anurag, walk us through the details. What exactly is the row about?
See, the Chhattisgarh Waqf Board has announced that they will distribute sweets across all madrasas and mosques in Chhattisgarh to promote national unity and harmony. But this has triggered a massive political row in Chhattisgarh. And as you have said, Dr. Salim Raza has announced that they will also give 5,000 to 7,000 rupees to economically weaker sections, economically weaker madrasas across the state for flag hoisting and for distribution of sweets, etc. But now the Congress has reacted to this because Dr. Salim Raza has also said, and I quote, that he accused the Congress of branding Muslim as terrorists and claimed that the party has historically supported or softened its stance on terror-related issues. And he also said BJP, in contrast, stands for nationalism, to which the Congress has reacted sharply. And the former Deputy Chief Minister T.S. Singdev has also said that Dr. Raza himself was born and raised during Congress rule, and asking him whether that made him a terrorist as well.
Right, Anurag, and I also wish to understand from you, there seems to be big political row regarding this. What exactly is the BJP saying with this regard?
See, the BJP has always supported this kind of move, and they're saying that they support the move by the Waqf Board for distributing sweets and flag hoisting across all madrasas and mosques in Chhattisgarh.
Right, absolutely. And I wish to understand that, I'm also going to take our viewers through what exactly this row is about. Like my colleague was just mentioning, that there seems to be a big political row that has erupted over the Chhattisgarh Waqf Board chief's remark on the Congress, where he's gone on to say that the Congress has worked to turn the Muslims into terrorists. Meanwhile, shifting tracks to other stories coming in at this hour and moving focus to Tamil Nadu, while the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has launched a blistering attack on the Governor R.N. Ravi while replying to the Governor's address in the Assembly. While the Chief Minister M.K. Stalin accused the Governor of insulting his own constitutional position and challenging a government elected by the people, calling the standoff unprecedented in Tamil Nadu's political history. While the Chief Minister has also asserted that Tamil Nadu's long-standing tradition is to begin the assembly sessions with the Tamil anthem and to conclude with the national anthem, insisting that the state needs no lessons in patriotism or in fact even in national integrity. While the BJP has hit back sharply with leader Narayan Tirupati questioning why the national anthem is being objected to, saying that traditions must align with the union government policy. While this is an important piece of information that we're tracking from Tamil Nadu at this hour, while there seems to be a big political row with regards to the governor and the government, this is also the case in several other states, as you must have seen. In Kerala as well, there was a big political row that had erupted. Apart from this, states like Punjab also previously have faced a face-off where the governor, and the governor have seemed to have had a face-off. In the latest that we're tracking from Tamil Nadu at this hour, while the Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has gone on to hit on the Governor R.N. Ravi and say that the Governor is disrespecting his own position and the Constitution. He's further gone on to talk about how it is in Tamil Nadu's history to first, begin the assembly session with the Tamil anthem, followed by the national anthem of the country. Well, on this, we have my colleague Sam Daniel joining us on the broadcast. Sam, take us through the details. What exactly is this row between the governor and the government about?
Well, it's customary rite during every new year. The first assembly session begins with the customary governor's address. The speech is prepared by the government and the governor normally reads it. But for the third consecutive time, the governor has not been reading the speech given by the government. The first time it was on not mentioning certain portions of the speech, including names of leaders like Periyar, Annadurai, Karunanidhi, and phrases like women's empowerment and a few other things like that. Last two times it's over the national anthem not being played in the very beginning of the session, but only at the end of the day. The governor wants the national anthem to be played first, but for more than a century, the Tamil Nadu Assembly begins with the Tamil anthem. It's on this the governor walked out, and today M.K. Stalin, replying to the governor's address, called this as a threat and a challenge to the people's rule in the country, saying that the governor ought to read the speech given by the government. And the reason he cites is unacceptable, and the governor, he says, insults his own position. And he also had some strong words saying, no one needs to teach us on patriotism and national integrity. We love the country and the national anthem more than anyone else. M.K. Stalin also used this opportunity, being the last session before elections, to showcase the achievements of his government, including the flagship programs like the free bus rides, the 1,000 rupee monthly assistance, and a few other empowering programs for the college students, which he says are unprecedented.
Right.
And he is confident that the government will be voted to power yet again.
Right, absolutely, Sam. You rightly mentioned, of course, the governor's face-off with the government is not new. There has been face-off with regards to the assent of bills as well. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing that piece of information with us. Meanwhile, let's also take you through the multiple face-offs that governors and governments have had in different states. Of course, we were just talking about Tamil Nadu. It's important to understand that Tamil Nadu has had repeated showdowns between the government led by M.K. Stalin and the governor led by, of course, R.N. Ravi. Now, this has been, like I was just mentioning, it's been a fight about impending bills, among other issues. Remember that the bill needs an assent of the governor. What's also important to understand is that there has been a repeated showdown between the governor there, R.N. Ravi, as well as the government. Now, it's important to understand that R.N. Ravi, the governor, recently walked out of the assembly without giving this speech. Now, this is an important piece of information, as there seems to be pendency of bills as well. There's important piece of information because there was also a similar case in Karnataka where there was a face-off between the government led by, of course, Siddharamaiah and the governor Thawarchand Gehlot. It's important to understand that the face-off was pretty similar, as Thawarchand Gehlot, the governor of Karnataka, refused to read the speech that was prepared by the government. And he also objected to certain portions, criticizing the government. Remember that these portions were with respect to the G Ramji Now Act, earlier bill. It's important to understand that not just Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, there's also West Bengal, which is led by Mamata Banerjee's government, the TMC, where there has been a run-in with C.V. Ananda Bose, with, of course, the governor present there. This has been with regard to stalled bills. Mamata Banerjee has repeatedly accused C.V. Ananda Bose of interference. Now, she's talked about this. Remember that during the IPAC raids as well, C.V. Ananda Bose had criticized Mamata Banerjee's behavior. While moving focus to Kerala, where there's also been a feisty battle between the chief minister and the governor, the then governor Arif Mohammed Khan. Remember that Pinarayi Vijayan had multiple face-offs and run-ins with Arif Mohammed Khan, and even accused Khan on sitting on bills. Remember that bills is something that has been a huge political flashpoint between the governor as well as the government. In 2024, in fact, Khan skipped major portions of his assembly speech, similar to what happened in Karnataka recently. Apart from this, moving focus to Punjab, where CM Bhagwant Singh Mann accused the then governor Purohit of, in fact, stalling the bills. Again, a repeated demand by the government, saying that the then governor, in fact, Banwari Lal Purohit, was stalling bills. There was a huge political face-off. Remember that Gulab Chand Kataria is the current governor of Punjab. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court also ruled that the governor cannot withhold bills. This is an important piece of information when it comes to assent of bills. Moving focus to Telangana at this hour, where the then governor Tamilisai, who is now in fact a prominent BJP leader rather, has in fact gone on to say that she faced discrimination because she was a woman. This is an important, in fact, point there, as you know, she had said that her phones were in fact being trapped by the then KCR government. Now, apart from this, there was also a delay in clearing of bills as per the government, and the then TRS government accused the governor of being an agent of the BJP. So these are the multiple run-ins that governors and governments have had in the past. Remember that the row only seems to intensify with states like Karnataka, Kerala, and of course, Tamil Nadu. Well, moving focus to other stories at this hour, moving focus to Uttar Pradesh, where the SIT has intensified probe in the Noida techie death case. Well, the SIT's probe is in Yuvraj Mehta's death and is almost complete is what we're learning so far. Now, the report is likely to be submitted by late evening today. Well, meanwhile, sources have also told NDTV that the authorities were questioned for nearly 8 hours yesterday after submitting a 60-page reply. But the important point there is the fact that the SIT is not satisfied with the reply submitted by authorities. While sources have told NDTV that more action is expected to be taken against the authorities after the SIT submits its report later this evening. Well, this breaking news we're tracking at this hour, important piece of information, as there seems to be a comment by a BJP leader that has sparked controversy. Remember that this is an important piece of information there. We also have a reaction, in fact, coming in. Let's, in fact, make you listen to that first.
MIM की शहर शेख, उन्होंने जिस प्रकार से हिंदू को वार्निंग देने वाला भड़काऊ भाषण किया था कि हम पूरे मुंब्रा को हरा बना देंगे, यानी मुस्लिम बना देंगे। आज गए 20 साल में 80% मुंब्रा मुस्लिम लोगों के कब्जे में चला गया, कट्टरपंथी। हमारी शिकायत के बाद में पुलिस ने 2 बार शहर को पुलिस स्टेशन बुलाया और अब शहर ने माफ़ीनामा लिख के दिया है, जिसमें उसने स्पष्ट लिखा है कि मेरे भाषण के कारण कुछ लोगों की भावना को दुख पहुंचा है, मैं माफ़ी मांगती हूं। शहर 22 साल की है, नौजवान है, इसलिए हमने भी माफ़ीनामा का स्वीकार किया है।
Well, this is an important piece of information coming in at this hour as the BJP leader Kirat Somaiya has said that Seher has apologized. Remember that this was with regards to a 22-year-old AIMIM corporator Seher, who had in fact sparked controversy regarding her in fact comments on Mumra. Remember that she had made comments saying that she will paint Mumra green. Now, these comments had in fact sparked huge political controversy as several leaders had in fact weighed in, criticizing the AIMIM 22-year-old corporator, to which she later clarified saying that she was talking about the color of her party. She said that by green, she meant that she was referring to the AIMIM flag. In the latest that we're tracking at this hour, a BJP leader, Kirat Somaiya, has said that Seher has apologized for her remarks. This is an important piece of information that we're tracking at this hour, as Seher has gone on to say that, of course, she will paint Mumra green. A big political row has erupted in Maharashtra, is what we're learning so far. Apart from this, we also have my colleague Saurav Akhtanian joining us on the broadcast. Saurav, walk us through the details. We understand that the BJP is also weighed in and said that the AIMIM corporator has indeed apologized.
So let me tell you that we have the exclusive copy of this particular letter which is submitted by Seher. We'll just put it on screen if we can over here, and this is what Seher has given a written statement, basically a written statement to the Mumra police. Behind me you can see the Mumra police over here. The statement which is given by Seher over here is that she didn't mean what she had said. She says that she only said about her party color, basically the AIMIM flag, which she said about. She says that I respect the Indian tricolor. We believe in India. We believe in Indian tricolor, and I apologize if I have hurt anyone's sentiments over here. So clearly this is a written apology, and this is exclusively we are right now showing on NDTV over here. Clearly the written statement given by Seher. Let me tell you, some time ago Kirat Somaiya was here. He met Senior Police Inspector Shinde over here. To show you visuals over here, this is the Mumra police station, and they met the Senior Police Inspector Shinde, and Shinde gave them a letter, showed a letter to Kirat Somaiya, clearly stating that Seher was called to this police station twice. Let me tell you that Seher, along with his father, who's also a leader and cooperator from Mumra, he was called to Mumra police station, and she has apologized over here. She has said that if anyone's sentiments is hurt, then I apologize. Let me tell you, the statement given by Seher was not taken well, because she said that she will be going to paint the entire Mumra in green, and after which there was a lot of criticism, and then a lot of complaints were filed. And while exclusively speaking to NDTV, Kirit Somaya also said that one more time, if Seher makes such mistake, a stern action will be taken by Mumra police. That's what the update from Mumra police station, that Seher has finally apologized in this matter, and she has said that she'll not repeat such statement again in future if anyone's sentiment is hurt.
All right.
So she apologized for this.
Right, absolutely, Saurabh. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing those details with us. Meanwhile, moving focus to other stories coming in at this hour, while actor Kamal Rashid Khan was arrested by the Mumbai police. Now, he's been arrested for firing 2 rounds at a residential building in Mumbai on the 18th of January. While 2 bullets were recovered from Nalanda Society, one on the 2nd floor and the other on the 4th floor. One flat belongs to a writer director and the other to a model. Now, KRK, however, has told the police, in fact, the Mumbai police, that this wasn't a deliberate shooting and that he was just cleaning his gun. An 18-member team from Oshiwara police station, led by Senior Police Inspector Sanjay Chavan, along with multiple crime branch teams, in fact, investigated the case, in which, of course, KRK has said that he was just cleaning his gun.